Big 12 game for TCU, entering the final quarter of the season, starting with Iowa State, who opened the season in Ireland, taking down Kansas State, but currently sit at 2-4 in the conference and 5-4 overall. Whereas the Frogs are walking into a must-win game to even have a chance to travel to Arlington on December 6th for the Big 12 championship. It's the annual Hail All Heroes game at the Carter today, honoring and recognizing the armed service members throughout the game. The Frogs are coming off an open week after waking up winners in Morgantown 2 weeks ago and getting bowl eligible with their 6th win of the season. The Blood Frog uniforms will grace our presence today. It's a 2:30 kickoff on Fox. Connor Onion and Mark Halfitch have the call. Featured guests on the show today are regular TCU Athletic Director Mike Buddie, head baseball coach Kirk Saarloos, and a couple of our 7th-ranked equestrian Lannie-Jo Lisac and Calla Thompson.
Routines. Waking up at 5 in the morning. Sprints, meetings, practices, sleep. Do it all again the next day. And once you step foot on that field, the expectations of those rest on your shoulders. They shout your name, hoping you win the day. Winning for the people, for those you love, for those who await your arrival back home. This isn't about football. This is about your heroes, my heroes, our heroes. The ones that wake up every day with the mission to protect us. Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, Coast Guard, Space Force. Hail all heroes.
Welcome into the show, everyone. I'm Jules Conti, coming to you from the Moncrief Club in the south end zone of the Amon G. Carter Stadium. It's a beautiful day for some Frog football. 81 degrees at kickoff with basically no wind. Perfect playing conditions here in Funky Town. I'm joined by Faith Lester once again, and Faith, I got chills watching that opening video that TCU Athletics made for today's game.
Thanks, Joel. Same feeling here for sure. We always look forward to this annual tradition to honor the proud men and women of our armed forces. It just doesn't get any better.
And speaking of great feelings, if you caught Sonny Dykes on Carter Boys this week, you heard him say one of the greatest things in sports is going on the road and beating an opponent in their own home stadium. West Virginia had absolutely nothing to lose, and the Frogs took care of business with their 23-17 defeat of the Mountaineers. Today's game begins with a 4-game stretch where the Frogs face 4 consecutive teams, either currently ranked or who have been ranked at some point during the season. Iowa State has been ranked as high as number 12 this year with a 5-0 start, but have lost their last 4 games.
Our Horned Frogs are trending in the right direction, winning their last 2, sitting at 3-2 in the Big 12. And with 6 total wins on the season so far, are going bowling for the 9th time out of their 12 seasons in the Big 12. Quarterback Josh Hoover in the win over West Virginia threw for 247 yards and 1 touchdown, putting him 3rd in the nation in yards with 2,371 and touchdowns with 22. For the 2nd straight season, Hoover has been named to the 2025 Davey O'Brien quarterback class announced on Thursday.
Hoover is playing with a great deal of poise and confidence, and he has a veteran line to play behind him as well. A talented target such as Eric McAllister, who had another 100-yard game last game out, his 3rd 100-plus game of the season, and a touchdown to tie it all together. The explosive playability continues. McAllister leads the Big 12 with the most 20-plus yard receiving plays with 15, which ranked 2nd in the nation. The run game, which has been a big question for the Frogs to start this season, is running on high right now, led by Trent Battle with a career-high rushing performance of 89 yards on 19 carries. Here's Iowa State head coach Matt Campbell on the dynamic Horned Frog offense.
And you're kind of going into a different game this week than maybe what we were going to play last week. You're going to play a group that is, again, very skilled. And, I think Josh is a young man that's been in this offense now 2.5 years, really made his first kind of major go at it here, 2 years ago, and has really kind of taken the reins since. And, I think what you see is a veteran quarterback that's got great command of the offense, and he's got great talent around him. A couple of those transfer receivers have really come on big for him. They've got size, they've got ability on the outside, and then they complement themselves really good with the run game. I think those two backs do a really great job running the football. A veteran offensive line, those guys are playing good football, and they've got the ability to tempo you, kind of spread you out, and really try to make you play in space. And we'll have to do a great job tackling in space as well as covering in space.
While the offense remains explosive, our Frogs on defense are slowing teams down every week. Last week, the Frogs only allowed 41 rushing yards, held the Mountaineers to 3 for 14 on third down, and on fourth down, stopped West Virginia 5 times. Linebacker Caleb Alarmzor led the defense in tackles for the second straight week with 16. The first TCU player to have 15 or more tackles in consecutive games since 1995. Here's defensive coordinator Andy Avalos this week on Sonny Dykes' State of the Frogs Coaches Show, presented by Texit Coin on his defense.
We're going to be multiple in the front. Sorry, we just came off the practice field, so got a little bit of sweat going. But so we're going to be multiple in the fronts. We want to make sure that not only as a defense, you usually got to react to offenses, right? Whether it's formations, motions, sets, all those things, then the ball snapped and you definitely have to react. As a defense, we want to do the same thing. We want to be multiple in our fronts and our coverages, be able to change windows in the fronts, be able to change windows in the coverages. And that way we can be on the attack and make sure that the offense has to keep reacting to the things we're doing as well. And so we're going to be aggressive. The one thing that we always want to, it is tackle football. Mm-hmm. So we want to be a great tackling defense and attack the ball. Ultimately, our job is to get the ball back for our offense so that they can score points.
If you missed this week's State of the Frogs Coaches Show with Sonny Dykes, it was a good one. Check it out on our website at frogstoday.com. We have been talking offense and defense. Well, what about the third phrase of the game? Special teams. Against West Virginia, Major Everhart recovered the Mountaineers' attempted onside kick at the end of the game. Place kicker Nate McCashlin kicked 3 field goals, earning the sophomore Big 12 Special Teams Player of the Week. And punter Ethan Kroll, who had won the field position battle for us in several games, was named to the watch list for the Ray Guy Award, honoring the nation's best college punter. More awards, watch list news. Safety Jamel Johnson was selected as a semifinalist for the Jim Thorpe Award, given annually to the nation's top defensive back. Let's take a quick break and hear from our sponsor, Texit Coin, and we'll be back with Athletic Director Mike Buddie.
Keeping score of your finances but missed the Bitcoin wagon? There's a second chance called Texit Coin. Score big at texitcoin.org.
Welcome back into your Frogs Today football pregame show. I am now joined with our weekly guest, TCU's Athletic Director Mike Buddie. Today is the annual Hail All Heroes game. Now, prior to TCU, you were the athletic director at the United States Military Academy. What kind of impact does a game like today have, not just for athletics, but for the surrounding community as well?
Well, what I love about games like this, Military Appreciation Days, Hail to Heroes, it allows you to take a moment to just reflect on that there are people that have that selfless attitude that serve and protect the Constitution of the United States, which it's always good to be reminded of that. And obviously my almost 6 years at Army West Point made it tangible every day. And so it's great that we're taking a breath, make sure that we acknowledge those selfless heroes.
And what a special game to do it. It's the last game, I can't believe I'm saying this, that students are on campus for our regular football season. What kind of impact does the student body have on TCU athletics as a whole, their presence being here in the Carter?
Well, immense, right? I mean, football clearly has been exceptional this year. I mean, our student body has shown up, 3 lightning delays at Baylor, and like a handful of them maybe elected to go. And Just from the Abilene Christian game on, they have shown up and over half of our student body coming to a football game, standing in the heat, in the rain, or the lightning as it was. It just gives a boost to the teams, and not just in football, right? Basketball the other night, volleyball. It's just we want our student athletes to represent the students of TCU, and so we really push them to be good community members, to be involved in class, to go to Greek events and things, because you can't just expect students to come support you if you're not making an effort to support them. And I just truly can't say enough about the TCU Frog Nation this season.
And I think it's definitely shown on the football side specifically, as the Horned Frogs are undefeated at home right now. What do you think it takes to keep that momentum going, especially facing a Cyclone team that's missing some key players?
Well, what I love about Coach Dykes and our guys, we're just going to focus on what we do best. And yeah, certainly Iowa State coming into the season had pretty high hopes. And like a lot of teams in college football, it's been a topsy-turvy. A lot of people are a little bit disappointed with where they are, but that doesn't mean that they're any less talented. And so we know that this Cyclone team, especially up front on the defensive and offensive lines, really, really big, strong young men. So we have to play well. And I just love that because of the energy from the student section, and maybe just the familiar confines of Carter Stadium, the natural grass surface, all those things that team up to give you a home field advantage. I hope that continues today.
And hopefully, as the Horned Frogs have set themselves up to be in this kind of must-win situation, if we even want a chance to head over to Arlington and play in that Big 12 championship game, as someone who comes from a team that knows how to win, our 98 Yankees, I say ours, please.
That's right. Yeah, you weren't born yet, but you were a big part of that, for sure.
Definitely was. Coach Dykes was speaking in a press conference that in the Big 12, the Horned Frogs are the winningest team within the past 15 games. Now, I know that you can't combine seasons. However, What does that show you about the Horned Frogs' ability to take this game?
Well, I think if you look at last year, like we really were hitting our stride at this point of the season and finished extremely strong. And, there's a blessing and a curse as we look at these last 4 games, right? It's 4 really, really strong teams, which, Coach Dykes and I have viewed this as, the opportunities that we wanted and the goals that we set are still right there for us. And when you have Cincinnati and Houston and BYU and Iowa State, they're all, the 3 of the 4 of them are ahead of us in the standings. And so that means it's going to be a tall order and we're going to have to play well, but it also means those are opportunities that if we can find ways to win those games, we'll be able to catapult ourselves. And we're still looking for the opportunity to play for a Big 12 championship.
Now, stepping away from football just for a quick second, coming up next, we have head coach of TCU Baseball, Kirk Saarloos, joining us on set. They just had game 1 of their annual Purple and White World Series yesterday, and what a game it was. White team coming back from a deficit and winning 7-6. Kind of reminded me of this World Series game that we had not too long ago, where the Dodgers and Blue Jays went 7 games.
Yeah.
Can you talk about that momentum and the excitement that it creates around a game when you have a team that is kind of just fighting back and forth?
Well, at the collegiate level, what I love about these fall World Series is you really get to find out who can compete. It's all about winning. And so there's always athletes who perform really well in practice, but for some reason, when the game starts and you're in the thick of it and the adrenaline's at full, they may be pale a little bit. And so clearly we had a lot of guys step up to have a competitive game where you really get to see guys pitching, hitting, running bases, playing defense in high stress, close games. Like those are the things that really go well. And I'm sure Kirk and his staff pay close attention to, because there's going to be some close games as we're looking to host regionals, super regionals. There's high expectations for this Horned Frog team as we look at the 26 season, which is amazing to say 2026. But, Coach Saarloos has just done a phenomenal job recruiting. And we were able to keep some of the best freshmen in the country. And so high expectations, and it was great that game 1 was a nail biter, went back and forth.
Speaking of keeping some of those greatest recruits, what does that tell you about the culture and the excitement around TCU baseball, even now when it's fall ball?
Well, it goes back to the student section for me. These kids could have left and gone and made 6 figures more money elsewhere, but they love being a part of the TCU community. They love having a faith-based institution. They love that we're values-based. They love that young women and men that they go to class with every day impact them in a positive way. And so when people, anytime from Josh Hoover to Sawyer Stroh-Snyder and in between, when they're turning down bigger bucks elsewhere to stay here, it just says a lot about our faculty, our staff, and our student body as a whole.
Speaking of that Horned Frog community, we have 2 riders from our TCU equestrian team joining us on the show as well later. They just beat the defending national champions, #1 Georgia, yesterday. Have you been able to make it out to the stable yet?
My wife and I were able to go to the Big 12 championships, which we hosted last spring, and learned so much about the sport. This is the first institution where I've worked that sponsors equestrian. And so Coach Schoolfield is phenomenal, and Melissa Dukes and that staff do such a wonderful job. And, you know, it's tricky and it's a challenge, and they're really committed to their sport to beat the #1 team in the country.
Yeah.
And, you know, they drive 30 minutes every day to get to that facility, the beautiful ranch that we have just south of Fort Worth. And so they're competing just as hard as our football players and committed just as much. They just don't get to do it in front of 50,000 fans. So I encourage our fans, if and when they get the opportunity, to go check it out. It's actually a much more fun spectator sport than you might imagine. And when you're competing at the level in which they're competing, it's you know, double the prize.
Speaking about our athletics as a whole and going out and supporting all of our TCU athletic programs, because we have so many incredible ones here. Men's and women's hoops is just getting started. Volleyball only has 6 games left in the regular season. Women's soccer is awaiting selection on Monday. This time in TCU athletics, can you talk about the culture and everything that's going on right now and the impact, and shows how the strength of all of our TCU athletic programs?
Yeah, and I think, you know, winning is contagious. And when there's that healthy competition where, you know, Mark Campbell's expecting to at least return to the Elite Eight or better, you know, these expectations, some of them we put on ourselves, but it really raises the bar. And so, you know, for Eric Bell, who was almost disappointed, right, for being 16-3 or whatever their ridiculous record is. So they put themselves in a phenomenal position. Monday afternoon, we get to find out where we go. We're assuming we get to stay right here at the friendly confines of TCU. And volleyball, same, right? They're right on the bubble to host. They hit a little bit of skid, but they played great last night. And they're going to finish strong. And so I love that there's this healthy competition of raising the bar for all of our programs.
Well, thank you so much for joining me week after week. I know the students will not be here for the next home game, but we will be. Cincinnati, Thanksgiving break for TCU students. But if you want to keep up with all TCU athletics, right here at frogstoday.com, we are at everything always. So stay tuned, because we have so many incredible athletic programs here. But for now, it is a 2:30 kick in the Carter for our Frog football team. Thank you so much again for joining us. Up next, we have head coach of TCU Baseball, Kirk Saarloos, joining us after a quick word from our sponsor, Texit.
Go Frogs.
Go Frogs.
Keeping score of your finances but missed the Bitcoin wagon? There's a second chance called Texit. Score big at texitcoin.org.
Welcome back into the Frogs Today football pregame show. Thank you to our sponsor, Texit. We are now joined by head coach of the TCU baseball team, Kirk Saarloos, as well as Fin Ewing. Do you want to sing us in for a little?
Oh, yeah. This is the Frogs Today, and we're going to whoop Iowa State.
Yeah, we
They're
are.
gonna hate us tomorrow.
I love that.
Isn't that what it's all about? I'm Jules Conti, joined alongside Faith Lester. Kirk, we want to get it started off. It is your annual Purple and White World Series, and what a game Game 1 was. Team White being down 3-1, coming back in the fourth, scoring 6, and then winning it all. 7-6 was the final. Can you talk about that first game madness?
Yeah, it was like you said. It was actually 5-1. I think we had purple and black, but it's the Purple and White World Series. But we had purple and black, so the purple team got off to a 5-1 start. They're kind of talking a little smack in the dugout.
Yeah.
And the black team kind of was steady Eddie the whole time and just kept playing the baseball game. And next thing you know, they got a couple hits. Traeger put them ahead 7-5, I think, with a homer in the 5th inning, and they closed it out with a 7-6 win. So I think it talks to the importance of trying to be emotionally stable throughout a game. I thought the purple team was super high at the beginning, and then all of a sudden the black team just kept plugging along and came back. So great way to start game 1 of the Purple White World Series for sure.
Yeah, we're wondering, how do you pick those teams?
Yeah, that's a great question. Mm-hmm. So we had a draft on Wednesday. So Coach DeLaura, our recruiting coordinator, had one team. Coach Silverman, who's director of player development on our staff, had the other team. So they're the two managers of the team. Okay. So we had about a 30-minute draft kind of in my office, kind of going back and forth, a lot of banter, a lot of figuring out who,
I'm sure,
who's going to pitch, who's going to play there. Our roster is pretty small right now, and we had some injuries, so there's a lot of kind of back and forth and some trades going on to try and make it as equal as possible. But yeah, those two guys had the draft on Wednesday, and as soon as those teams were announced in front of the team in our classroom on Thursday, it pretty much separated the team into two distinct groups as opposed to one cohesive unit.
I'm sure the competition begins. It's all fun and games when you play for the same team, but when you're competing and there's something on the line, because you guys turn it around and the losing team has to caddy for the winning team when you guys go out and golf.
Well, one of the best golfers I know is Fin.
Oh my God.
One of the best golfers I know is Fin. And so what we do is we take him over to JJ Colleen's place out west, and we play. The winners get to play golf. The losing team has to caddy for the winning team. So it always pays to be a winner. You don't want to be a loser. But like I said, this guy, probably one of the best golfers I know.
I was going to say, you're going to go join him?
I want Traeger on my team.
You do? Yeah.
I told him, I said, they're going to throw this curveball. You better hit it. And he did. He knocked it right out of there.
See, he knows more about sports and baseball than I do. That's why he's here.
See, I've already proved it.
Well, I'm trying to get him to sit in the dugout with me when we play either Vanderbilt, Arkansas, or OU. He hasn't taken me up on it.
I'm coming.
He comes on the sidelines for the football game, so I'm trying to get him in the dugout for a baseball game.
I want to go to all three.
Deal.
That's all I want. I just want to go to all three. He doesn't have to treat me bad.
That's a deal.
You heard it. I saw you guys doing lots of fun things lately. Swim and dive.
Yeah.
I think you did a gainer
off
of the
My neck's
high
still
dive.
with. Well, what I figured out is that was all. Yeah, that was
Oh
all
my
smart
gosh.
and good. It was all smart and good
that.
when you think that you're like 30, but when you're 46 and do it, and you wake up the next morning and your neck still. My neck hurts today, and it's been over a week.
I'm 67. I'd be at the bottom of the pool.
That's right.
Yeah.
It's amazing. I think we're mentally like 30, right?
Yeah.
But
physically,
You guys look it too.
well, I
Thank
really
you.
thank you.
Thank
See,
you.
that's great hosting there. Yeah, but no, my neck's still 46. I didn't want to over rotate, so entered the pool probably at a bad angle, and no, we had a great time. That was all about, nowadays you get 45 days to practice 35 times.
Yes.
And it used to be you had 45 days to practice 27 times.
Okay.
And so you have an extra 8 days of practice. And so what we decided to do was take one of those days. We had a practice plan all set up for that day, and kind of got them up in a circle, and they thought Coach Saarloos was pretty pissed off that day. And, I was trying to be that way.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And what we tried to do was, what I told them is, hey, if we're going to go compete, but we're going to go compete in the pool. And so we went over to the rec center, the swimming and diving.
Yeah.
Obviously, Coach Winchester allowed us in there in the rec center, and we competed in the pool, which was fun to see. Sometimes it's good to see guys compete in different venues and different arenas.
Yeah.
And it was a lot of fun to watch our guys do a relay, do smallish splash, and then do best, belly flop.
Oh, that's so much fun.
You a good belly flopper?
No, I don't have. I'm not. I don't.
You don't have enough belly to belly flop.
I hardly make any noise at all.
He's a pencil diver. He just
That's
goes
right.
in.
Yeah, but nothing. There's no water splashes when I do my dive.
That's right.
That's how you win in the Olympics, I'm pretty sure. When you're diving.
Even if I did a belly flop, I wouldn't have any water splash.
None.
He's a professional in every sport, ladies and gentlemen. Just so you know, we're graced by greatness.
That's it. That's right.
Now, bring us back to baseball a little bit. You mentioned Globe Life, which you're now joining us for.
All three games.
All
Yes,
three
all three.
games. You guys get to start the season again there. I want to kind of talk to you as a head coach, getting to bring these guys to a professional ballpark and play there, where this is where so many of them dream to land after playing college ball. What does that feel like for you?
Well, it's cool too because the Rangers are so gracious with being able to use their facility. I mean, I remember 2 years ago we're playing Baylor. It was a bad weather weekend, and we called up the Rangers and said, "Hey, would you mind if we took one of our games here at Lupton and moved it indoors because we want to get all three games in?" And they totally accommodated us.
Yeah.
So, more and more of these kids, because of the kind of the amateur circuit where they play in a lot of these stadiums now, it used to be where you never had access to it. And now a lot of these kids have played on big league fields, but to be able to play, like we're going to be playing Vanderbilt, Oklahoma, and Arkansas, we're probably going to be in front of anywhere from 10 to 20,000 people.
Yeah.
It's really cool to start a season off because, how it could be in Fort Worth with the weather.
Yeah.
It might be 80 degrees in February. It might be 35 degrees. So to be indoors in 71 and perfect is going to be awesome to start our season. Then we also play Tuesday right after that weekend, we played Tuesday against UTA in Globe Life. So to be able to start the first 4 games, in a big league ballpark is really neat, just because it's fun to play in a big league ballpark. Like you said, they're striving to play there, and to be able to start our season in there and play in a park like that is awesome.
Yeah, and speaking about the community here as a whole, everyone always talks about the Horned Frog community, but it does expand outwards to all of this DFW Metroplex. And you see how much everybody loves to just be a part of the TCU Horned Frog community that TCU has been able to create and go out for. With speaking of you being here supporting our TCU football team, head coach to head coach.
Yeah.
The Horned Frogs have put themselves in a situation where this is a must-win game if they want to crawl to Arlington and play in that Big 12 championship. You are down there in that locker room right now, getting them ready to run out onto the field. What would you say?
Well, I think as a head coach, I think every game is in your own mind is must win, but it's about the process of playing the game. Like, you can't think of, the end of the game. You can't think of 60 minutes down the road. You got to think of play by play by play and trying to win each play. And I know Coach always talks about, doing your job, and that's exactly what he's talking about. Do your job for about a 3 or 4 second play. You're going to do it again and do it again, and it comes down to who does their job better. And whether it be a must win, I think ultimately the scoreboard will be a dictator of who did their job more often than the other team.
Yes. Finn, you got anything to add to that?
Yeah, well, you see, I'm a car dealer, so everything is for sale and on sale. So if I was gonna say something to them, I'd say, if y'all want to play anymore, you better get out there and go win this game, because we ain't got time to jog around.
I like it.
Always be selling. Always be recruiting. That's what a good car dealer does.
Yes.
He's good at his job. Not only are you a well-rounded athlete in every department,
biggest cheerleader,
but the best car salesman there ever was.
Yep.
Ever.
Well, thank you both so much for joining us today. Enjoy the game. We can't wait to keep up with your season as well.
Go
We're going
Frogs.
to take a quick break, and then after we're joined by 2 of our riders from the TCU equestrian team. But yes, go Frogs.
Go Frogs.
The origin of the purest water the planet has to offer? Clouds, aka nature's original water source. At Richards, we found a simple process to collect each magical drop, filter it, and pour it into infinitely renewable aluminum cans and glass bottles, leaving for all the purest, best-tasting water. Straight from the source, the clouds. When we drink the rain, it's good for all, people and the earth. So taste for yourself and sip the sky. Richards Rainwater.
I'm here with Lannie-Jo Lisac and Calla Thomas from the TCU equestrian team, beating defending national champs and #1 Georgia yesterday in a match. Just tell me a little bit about that, guys.
Yes, it was so fun, and it was our last meet of the semester, so to go out like that is unbeatable. It was awesome, so fun.
It was an awesome experience, especially coming off a few losses. We learned a lot from the losses, and to put it all together to beat #1 is pretty cool.
You guys both earned most outstanding player yesterday. How does that make you feel?
It was so fun. I drew a tricky horse that I sometimes struggle with at practice, so it was so fun to mop on him, just because I do struggle with him. So for us to put it together and go out there and have fun together, it was so fun.
Mm-hmm. I came in with less experience in the horsemanship, so it was really I've been putting a lot of work into practice and everything, so it was really nice to see it all paying off.
Yes, it definitely paid off. Tell our viewers how the drawing works for horses, because I was going to mention you guys have won the last 25 out of 26 home meets or matches, and obviously there's that home field advantage, but just tell the viewers a little bit about that.
So it's a random draw. So during the practice week, we pick 5 horses that we want in the draw, and then it's completely random. A girl from instance Georgia and I will draw the same horse, and whoever gets the highest score on that horse wins the point for the team.
Got it. Okay. And so how do you mentally settle in and get comfortable with that horse when it's such a high stakes match?
It's definitely just getting used to that horse and figuring out how to make the best performance that they have, and just being a team with them and figuring out the best that they can do and the best ways to help them. That way you can beat #1 Georgia.
Yeah. I think riding the horses to their best ability and not your best ability. We have some horses that are more talented than others, but it's just knowing your horse and knowing how hard you could push it that day, and how if you need to let up in a few places, knowing the places that you could go harder in, places that you need to be softer in.
Yeah. So at a away match, How do you get to know that horse with such little time?
It definitely is a tricky situation, and it's really the 4 minutes is just figuring out how to make that horse perform its best ability, and just showing that that you can do it with them. And it's a tricky, especially home. And I'm really struggling,
especially
advantage.
Away.
Yes,
especially
yes,
away.
yes.
It's hard. You said this is the last match of this semester. You guys have a 2-month-ish off season. You're performing or competing at the Fort Worth Stock Show and Rodeo. What are you guys doing in the off season to prepare?
I would say an off season is not an off season. We're constantly working. So while we don't have practice and stuff right now, and we're kind of giving the horses some breaks, we'll just make sure to keep building that team culture outside the arena. We'll do some team bonding activities and hang out with just each other and just bond.
Have fun with your friends.
Yes.
If you were to tell someone to come out to a TCU equestrian match, what would you tell them and why?
I would say that I would tell them it's fun and it's not a sport that you get to watch every day. We constantly think like it's so awesome that we get to ride at the level we do and at the school we do. So it's definitely a unique opportunity. So it's just awesome to come out and watch because it's not a sport you get to watch every day.
Yes.
It definitely is you can see it right away what girl has the horse riding the best and stuff. So it's very cool to see, especially when it's the same horse in the same situation, but so much is different.
Yeah. That's really cool. I'm super excited to come out to see one of your matches next semester. Are you guys into football? Predictions for today?
Frogs are gonna win.
Frogs on top. Frogs on top.
Of course, me too. Well, coming out of this, we will have Sonny Dykes on what he thinks for this Iowa State game. Thanks for joining us, girls, and go Frogs.
Thank you. Go Frogs.
They're a team that, obviously got off to a fast start, beat Kansas State on the in Ireland, and then beat a really good Iowa football team and a team that was probably playing as well as anybody in the country. And, they kind of hit the Big 12 schedule, and it's kind of been that way for a lot of teams. I mean, it's a very competitive league. They, as you said, they've had some injuries that have affected their team considerably, but very dangerous football team. You know exactly what you're going to get when you play these guys. They're going to be physical on offense, huge offensive line. They got a big, strong running back, big receivers. Rocco Beck's one of the top quarterbacks in the league. Took them to the Big 12 championship game last year. So they know how to win football games. And then defensively, they're very unique in what they do and how they do it, and tough preparation. So it's going to be a tough game. They've got one of the top defensive linemen in the league. Nose tackle's a really good football player, a hard guy to move, and really productive. And so when you play them, I mean, it's going to be tough. It always is. They're going to limit your number of possessions. They're going to control the clock, force you to execute at a really high level in order to score points. And you're going to have to really play really winning football.
While the matchup between Texas Tech and BYU headlines the Big 12 for obvious and deserved reasons, the rest of the conference is still fighting. The Frogs at 6-2 are quietly making a case for themselves to get back to the Big 12 championship game. And the Cyclones at 5-4 have basically seen everything go wrong for them.
When it rains, it pours, and boy, it's pouring on Iowa State right now. After so much hope and promise, after an 11-win campaign and starting 5-0 to start the season, only to drop their last 4 games. At this point in the year, teams are sliding, usually keep sliding, and that is what should happen in this game. The Cyclones have given up a ton of points, allowing almost 32 points per game during this 4-game losing streak. With this in mind, our Frogs are putting up almost 35 points per game and are slinging it with quarterback Josh Hoover and should be able to toss it around a little bit today.
The matchup dates back to 1995, and the teams are even at 5 games apiece in the last 10 games. The Cyclones got the Frogs in Ames 27-14 in 2023. The Frogs are favored by 7, and the over-under on this one is 57.5. It could be a close one, but with the Frogs playing well right now, especially at home, the pressure is on, and this being basically a must-win game for the Frogs. It's the annual Hail All Heroes game. Throughout the entire game, our armed service members will be recognized, celebrated, and honored. Thanks to Mike Buddie, Kirk Saarloos, equestrian members Lannie-Jo and Calla for joining the show today. And we can't go without mentioning a big congratulations to Daniel Pullen. for officially being inducted as the new Chancellor for TCU. Congrats, Chancellor Poland. This has been your Frogs Today football pregame show presented by Texit. For Faith Lester, Jules Conti, go Frogs, and we'll see you after the game.